I want to take a look at something that has been pretty much plaguing my mind for the entirety of Wano, and that is Kaido. Now, I did a video a long time ago that I ended up having to take down due to a Shueisha scare, and it basically was a theory revolving around the mental health of Kaido. With the extra context that I've gotten since then from the Wano arc and everything that I've been seeing between Kaido and Luffy, one question has been on my mind. When will we get a Kaido backstory and what will be in it? I'm going to try my best to talk about the relationship between Kaido and his daughter, Kaido and Xebec, Kaido and Whitebeard, and really break down what I think his backstory will pertain to, what will be in it, and what may be the root cause of Kaido's actions. What made him become the beast he is, and what is the origin of the Beast Pirates? Before we get into this theory though, if you want to help out with the algorithm, make sure to like and comment on this video. And if you want more theories like these, make sure to subscribe and turn on your post notifications. Let's get into the video. At the time of Kaido's introduction, we are immediately presented with his true motive. He is searching for a place to die. We then see one of the greatest introductions in One Piece as Kaido jumps from a sky island in an attempt at taking his own life, landing directly into the ground below, but alas, he survives. I was so excited to see Kaido when I was reading One Piece, and everything about him lived up to the hype. The only problem I had though was the many questions surrounding this pirate and why his motive is so dark. What made him think the way he did? What caused Kaido, someone so overwhelmingly powerful, to want to die? I went a while not knowing much, and eventually my thoughts subsided, but once we arrived to Wano, things changed. This arc has added substantial information to Kaido's character and what may have triggered a change in him. I want to start this theory off with the Oden flashback. Once we got there, I started drawing correlation between Kaido's will and certain plot points in the story. Oden versus Kaido. It wasn't fleshed out, it wasn't shown in great detail, but what was there was a distinct difference in power and Kaido in a vulnerable state for the first time in the story. There's a moment of shock as Kaido's men voice their disbelief, saying he landed a blow on the invincible Kaido, followed by what was almost a deciding blow, one that we now know was probably coded in Conqueror's Haki. But before the blow actually landed, the old hag intervened, making herself appear to be Momo using her devil fruit. And with Oden thinking that Momo's life was in danger, it threw him off. Even though Oden lost the overall encounter due to this distraction, imagine how Kaido felt in that moment. This may have been the first time that Kaido tasted this embarrassing defeat. Now we do know that Kaido has lost 7 times, and we did see the shadows over Luffy of those great individuals that have damaged him at some point, but this may have been the first time that maybe he felt he was bested when he was at what he might have considered his peak strength. Now I do think that Kaido did get stronger after this, but perhaps he thought that this was him at his best and he got bested by someone else, a great warrior like Oden. He felt so strongly about this situation that he was in that he ended up killing the old hag because of her interfering. That should let you know how he felt about her actually trying to help him. He felt like he got bested and he ended up winning the fight due to a fluke. In his mind, it may have been that Kazuki Oden was the one man who had made him feel less than. In my honest opinion, the moment Kaido had with Oden may be directly related to his cause of growth in the future years that came afterwards. When we see him in that flashback and we see him currently, the physique of his body is completely different. The way he carries himself seems to be different as well. This situation between him and Oden may have motivated him to become the beast that he is, but in doing so may have also led to his need to find a way to die. Kaido's loss to Oden could have changed his entire outlook on himself and gave him the drive to become stronger. We don't know what Kaido did to achieve this strength, but we do know that a great part of it was the debt that he owes to Big Mom, which is in fact her giving him his devil fruit. We learned that in God Valley, Big Mom seemingly gave the devil fruit to Kaido, and that's the debt that he owed to her. There's also an idea that some people have that just besides the devil fruit, that this moment may have made Kaido work much harder and he may have broke a limiter within himself through years of fighting and just natural growth. There's a ton of different speculations as to when certain characters hit their primes, but I do believe that it's different for each character in One Piece. However, I truly believe this fight with Oden changed something inside of him, and it was the true initial effect of a long-lasting change in the pirate he'd become. Is Kaido truly invincible? Well, we've seen him wounded by Oden, and as of recently, we've seen him scarred by Zoro, so we know that that's not the case. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I've heard so many different theories about Kaido and his need for death, what makes him tick, why he wants to die, that he wants to attain this perfection through death. That's a quote directly from him, by the way. Some people think he just might be too bored and looking for the ultimate challenge. Some people feel like it's just due to the fact he wants to be a legend like those that have defeated him before. I think that it's a lot deeper than that, and it's actually due to how his psyche has been affected, but not only his daughter, but everything that happened at God Valley as well. I've talked about his introduction previously in the video, but let's take a quick look back at chapter 795 that was titled simply Suicide. The literal title was Suicide. Oda is quite aware about mental health and how it can affect people, and the fact that he would put suicide on the title lets you know that Kaido's mindset might be a little off. During the Dressrosa arc, Luffy and Law decide to create an alliance so that they can take down one of the Yonko, Kaido. With the Sad Factory on Punk Hazard destroyed, the Straw Hats and Law wanted to destroy Kaido's Smile Factory in Dressrosa so that they can lower Kaido's army's power. After learning about Doflamingo's defeat and the destruction of the Smile Factory by the Straw Hat and Heart Pirate Alliance, his men tried to inform him about the news. Kaido, however, appeared on a sky island called a balloon terminal, and he attempted to commit suicide by free-falling at a height of 10,000 meters to hit the ground below. He landed at the base of Eustace Kid and survived the fall, complaining simply about a headache. He came out of the hole and began speaking about Joker and his desire to make him prepare for a massive war. Now here we see him actually try to kill himself, and right after that completely have a mind switch to a war. We can see just through this moment here that Kaido's mental state is not that of a normal individual. He is clearly stricken with some sort of mental illness or mental problem in general, and I think it's due to just the things that he's had to go through in life. The One Piece world is a scary and dark place. One huge, and I mean huge, indicator of this is something that revolves around Kaido's entire life and his well-being, and that is drinking. Kaido is consistently drunk, consistently drinking, and that is a huge sign of some sort of depression. Now, I'm not trying to be a psychiatrist here. That's not what this video is about. It's more about his backstory and what the root of these problems are, but I had to bring up the drinking because it's something that has happened time and time again with his character. There's a chapter titled Beverages. I believe that it is chapter 824, and it's during the Zou arc. Kaido appears on an island with his subordinates, and he was drinking sake after hearing about Doflamingo's defeat at the hands of Luffy and Law. He was sad at first that he would not be able to achieve his goals of getting a devil fruit only crew. His depressive mood turned to wrath when he saw wanted posters of Luffy and Law and attacked his crewmates with a giant mace out of spite. Kaido said that their decision to take down Doflamingo has now caught his attention and that he will be going after them. He began insulting Kid, who happened to have been defeated in their confrontation before. Kaido stated that the Supernova are simply playing a pirate's game, something that gets brought up time and time again. He keeps talking about this new generation and how they're just playing at being pirates. I'm going to get back to that a little later. There's a lot to unpack in this chapter. We literally see Kaido start this moment off crying, and the moment he saw something that upset him, once again he had a mood swing. Not only that, but he's drinking. His biggest vice, and I've said this before, but he just drinks a lot. But let's get deeper than that. For Kaido's situation, we need to take a look at his entire life to try to come to some sort of conclusion. And this is where I want to talk about a possible backstory involving the God Valley incident. The earliest info we have on Kaido is that he was an apprentice and a member of the Rocks Pirates under the leadership of Rocks Xebec. He was a member alongside Whitebeard, Linlin, Shiki, Captain John, and a few others. Kaido, along with his crew, gained an infamous reputation for stirring up chaos in the New World. Kaido and his pirate team once attacked a place in the New World called God Valley, where the Celestial Dragons were present with their slaves. His team was stopped by the partnership of Monkey D. Garp and Goldie Roger. After that incident, the island where the battle took place disappeared and was no longer recorded on any maps. At some point in time, Big Mom did Kaido a favor, which was giving him the devil fruit, and Kaido owes her a lifelong debt. Now, in this moment, I want to break down what could have possibly happened here and what may have led Kaido to resenting Whitebeard and why he might have tried to go to Marineford. Kaido was an apprentice to Rocks. Now, I know that Xebec seems to be this evil individual and this terrible pirate, but we honestly just assume those things, and we definitely don't know who he was to his pirate crew. But what we do know is that Kaido was an apprentice, and we've seen time and time again that the apprentice on these crews have a special relationship with their captains. It's like their captains have a big brother role or a father figure role. Now, I want to draw everyone's attention to how Jack and Kaido interact. After Sulong, Nekomamushi, and Inuarashi seemingly defeat Jack, the way that Kaido talked to Jack was unlike how he's talked to any of his other members. He talked to Jack with a loving tone, as if he respected him, as if he had love for him. He told Jack that, "Jack, you're not weak, they simply were too strong," and that he would not allow them to kill his closest subordinate. He told Jack to go rest. He shows care and love to Jack, something that we have not seen him do. This gives me the idea that perhaps Jack could be the apprentice to Kaido. It's not confirmed, but I do think that Jack and Kaido do have a special relationship, and that makes me think, did Xebec treat Kaido the same way? There's a theory going around in the community, and it's been going around forever now, that Edward Newgate Whitebeard switched sides during the God Valley incident and he helped Roger and Garp. A lot of people believe this because we know that Edward Newgate Whitebeard was in it for the money, and they think that perhaps he wouldn't have wanted to go as deep as Xebec was willing to. There's also some people that think that maybe Whitebeard and Roger had some sort of relationship at the time, and that may have altered his, loyalties. But the biggest part of this theory is that perhaps Whitebeard had something to do with Xebec's death directly. And with Kaido and Xebec having this apprenticeship relationship, and Whitebeard being a former member and betraying their captain, this may have been the stepping stone to how Kaido became the beast he was. He also got his devil fruit that day from Big Mom. He may have turned from Kid Kaido, this apprentice, into this very strong, savage individual who knew right then that the pirate world was a dark place, that you can't trust anyone, that at any time your own crew could switch up on you. If Edward Newgate was responsible for Xebec's death, Kaido would have never let this go. That may have been why he was trying to go to Marineford to get to Whitebeard. He may have contempt in his heart for Whitebeard for that moment, because he killed the very man that was closest to him, their captain. When he tells the new generation that they're simply playing a pirate game, he might be talking about this directly. This may have been what made him see how evil and demented the pirate world could really be, how untrusting everyone around you are. I believe that this is what started Kaido becoming the beast he was, the king of the beast, the leader, the captain of the Beast Pirates. Now, I think that this was just the trigger to Kaido's mental issues and his change up in personality, but I want to talk about the climax of this Oden fight, because I believe that this gets a lot deeper than what it is at God Valley. As I said before, there was a distinct power difference between Oden and Kaido, and he seemed to have Kaido on the ropes for most of their fight in the flashback. So much so that Kaido's men made comments, as I said, about how it was crazy that Oden even damaged him. But of course, the old hag distraction turning into Momo caused Oden to lose in the situation, but even though he lost the battle, he did not lose the war. He seemed to have the one-up on Kaido. I believe a combination of this moment, the God Valley moment, and even later events damaged Kaido's morale so much and made him spiral into a depression. In this moment, he was not only put into a situation of defeat, but his feeling of being invincible was shaken at its core. And I think that this led to an obsession with not only Oden, but anyone associated with him. It's been laid out in front of us, we just have to dig into it. Kaido has a weird obsession with Mominosuke. On page 7 and 8 of chapter 973, we see Kaido with Momo when he has the perfect opportunity to kill him. But he then sees that this is Kazuki Oden's son, and he says, "With your death, I presume the Kazuki clan is finished." But instead of killing him, he throws him into the castle. Why would Kaido even leave this up to chance? Why not just kill Momo? I know that he probably thought, oh, he'll burn in the building, but as he's seen Momo later in life, I don't think that's the case. I think he wanted Momo to survive. Kind of like he was testing him, trying to make him stronger so he could become his father, so that then maybe one day he could fight Mominosuke and he could get the feeling that he finally defeated Oden. Further evidence of this obsession happens on page 3 of chapter 974. Kaido and Orochi are speaking about the Kazuki clan, and Orochi believes that they are still alive. Kaido makes the comment, "Well, don't kill them if they are alive. I've got questions for the Kazuki survivors after the last 20 years. Again, we see this weird obsession. Even in chapter 982, when Kanjuro walks into the room with Mominosuke, Kaido sees how beaten, bruised that Mominosuke is, and he seems angry, mad that he killed him, to the point where Kanjuro had to assure him that he was still alive. But as he sees Momo, he sees he hasn't grown any stronger, and he's disappointed. At this point, I feel like this obsession in Mominosuke kind of snapped. He saw that he had no chance of becoming Oden, and he just wanted to throw him to the wayside because of that, which led to Mominosuke almost getting executed. Anything that has to do with Oden, Kaido seems to try to flex on it. Kaido watched Oden boiled alive to save his people. He even commended him for being clever about protecting the scabbards while he took the suffering from inside the pot. But I always wondered, did Kaido feel guilty for this? Does it plague him even now in the present? Is his obsession with Oden linked to his need to fill the void left by the death? I really don't know. But to talk about that and to correlate it to the drinking, even Oden told him before he died that every time he took a drink, that he'd be there. And I believe that him drinking is symbolism in correlation to that moment. Oden telling him, every time that you drink, I will be there, I will haunt you. And it just says a lot about it. I honestly didn't think it could get any worse until we got introduced to Yamato. We find out that Yamato is Kaido's daughter and that Kaido has had her captured for 20 years. But at some point in the past, Yamato went to her father and told him that she wanted to be the great samurai Kozuki Oden. This resulted in him beating her. She was even present during Oden's execution in the legendary hour and became very sorrowful at the samurai's death. Later, Yamato found Oden's logbook in Kiri and held onto it dearly while starting to emulate everything about Oden. Yamato began presenting as a man to emulate Oden's gender, and has since been widely referred to as Kaido's son. At an unknown point in time, Kaido placed exploding shackles on Yamato, preventing her from leaving Onigashima. Very recently in the story, Kaido and Big Mom even announced that they were in an alliance together and that they planned on creating a world war, that they will go after the ancient weapons and the One Piece. But the other big announcement that Kaido made was that he was making his son Yamato the shogun for the new Onigashima. I believe that this may be tied to Kaido and his desire to connect with his son. He wants the respect of him, and he clearly wants him to live within his legacy. And I don't blame Kaido for that. It must be incredibly difficult to have a child who aspires to be someone else, especially when you show the interest in having them become like you. So maybe in a way, Kaido doesn't understand how to connect with him on an emotional level and instead is trying to force him into his role, a role where he ends up living as his father intends. The bad part about this is what it could lead to. The constant push from Kaido to have Yamato become closer to him will be the very thing that drives them apart. He's not letting him breathe. He had Yamato captured for 20 years, and I'm sure it's not because he's afraid of him, but he's afraid that if Yamato was let free, that they might become the very thing he fears most, Oden. He wants Yamato to see him, to love him, and to look up to him in the same way that she idolizes Oden. And he's literally willing to do anything to have that come to fruition. This may inevitably cause friction and resentment between him and Yamato. Should Kaido have locked Yamato up for 20 years? Of course not. But again, we don't know how deep his mental issues go. Imagine you go most of your life being seen by the ones around you as invincible, the king of beasts, an immovable force. You spend your life as a pirate, causing chaos, living with a captain that you loved, until one day your crewmate, someone like Whitebeard, turned, changed sides, and was completely disloyal to that same captain that you had love for, and may have been a reason why he killed him. You go through your life living with this guilt, living with this resentment to Edward Newgate, wanting to kill him. Living your entire life based off of this anger and resentment, you train, you become stronger, you become this invincible beast. Everyone thinks that you can't be stopped, until one day you're challenged by a samurai named Kozuki Oden. You clash with him only to be completely bested. Not only were you less than physically, but you were also saved by one of your own people, being the old hag. One of your allies grabbed this fake Momo as a distraction so that you wouldn't lose your life. Then we get to the execution. The same man who bested you outsmarts you and your companion, saving his men and sacrificing himself in the process. He died and attained perfection, the same thing that you want to do. He gets to be admirable, a hero, and here you are looking incompetent once again. And finally, to top it all off, before he dies, he tells you to get stronger. He tells you that he's going to hunt you with every drink that you take. And then it gets even further with your own daughter. Yamato said it herself, she rebelled against her father, that she was there when the execution was taking place and it made her angry at Orochi and her father. Kaido tried to humiliate Oden, and instead it created the opportunity for him to gain even more notoriety. By the end of the execution, the people of Wano were cheering for Oden. But more than that, Yamato, Kaido's only child, looked up to Oden in this moment. She admired him and what he stood for. For Kaido, that must have been rough. But then, this 8-year-old daughter started saying she wanted to be that very man. This infuriated Kaido so much that he started beating her, kept her prisoner for 20 years. Put yourself in Kaido's shoes for a second. How would you feel as a father if your only child told you that they aspired to be someone else? Not only that, but they dedicated their life to taking over his identity, his will, that their goal was in direct opposition of your own because of the man that could have been your greatest enemy. I asked myself how I'd feel. I thought on it long and hard, and honestly, knowing my child wanted to be my greatest enemy, it made me think that maybe I would have jumped off that sky island as well. I hope you all enjoyed this theory on Kaido's backstory and what may have been the origin to him becoming the man that he was, pirate captain, the king of beasts, and what may have been the start of the beast pirates themselves. I would love you guys to give me your comments on this theory and let me know what you think, so make sure you comment down below. And as always, I hope you all are staying safe and healthy during these trying times. This has been Synsei Inc., and I will see you all in the next video.